Hey everybody, welcome to the Atlanta video. This video is going to be going over the truck race and the Xfinity race. So we got two NASCAR DFS slates taking place on Saturday. So we got a doubleheader. And I want to approach both of these races relatively the same way. So before we dive in, first and foremost, just want to say thank you guys so much for all the support over the Daytona 500 or Daytona Speed Week, I should say. We've had a ton of growth, a lot of new people, a lot of people coming back that I recognize names and people commenting again. So it feels good to just be back into that rhythm. So thank you guys for being here. So if you want to help us, the best way to do that is just like, comment, share, retweet, subscribe. Obviously, you're on the YouTube channel. Right now, we're inching closer and closer to the 1,000. You can follow us over on X. That's where we post these spreadsheets. And if you have a good week, or if you just appreciate what we do, if you want to send us a couple of dollars here and there, that's always appreciated too. So this preview is really going to cover the truck race and the Xfinity race. So when you talk about Atlanta, the first thing you have to keep in mind is that they repaved this track, right? So it's not the intermediate cookie cutter 1.5 track, that we were used to running in years past. They have reconfigured it, and it is now a high banked, mini super speedway almost. It's like an intermediate super speedway. So there isn't a ton of data points really to lean on so far as how this track races, but we have some. And from those previous races, we can start to kind of draw some conclusions and kind of find some common denominators. So the first thing is, yes, this race, is still going to have drafting, but we don't see, as large of packs. The track is a little bit tighter. So place differential upside is still important. Fast laps are still going to get distributed pretty much randomly throughout the field. The thing that becomes a little bit more of an emphasis, especially in tournaments, is we've seen, as far as lineup construction goes, we usually get at least one, sometimes two, but for the most part, pretty much one driver that starts inside the top 10, leads a good chunk of the race, leads a lot of laps, either wins the race or gets a good finish, and they hit the optimal lineup. And we usually don't see as many cars and trucks wreck out at this race as we do at the super speedway of like Daytona and Talladega. So yes, I still think you want to attack place differential, but I think it's a little bit of a different approach than just, I'll just stack the back or stack the really bad drivers or the bad equipment plays, because once all the wrecks happen, they'll advance. It's relatively small sample size, but we'll kind of dive into it. I'll kind of show you what we mean here. So we're going to start with the truck race. Depending on when you're watching this video or what slate you're playing, just skip ahead, and I'll try to link it down below or something. But you'll see, when the Xfinity sheet will start. So getting the truck race, no one went home. We didn't have that many people show up to race, which is disappointing, but it is what it is. So but we do have Kyle Busch in the field. So we got Busch, Heim, Eckes, Rhodes, Majeski, and Enfinger there for our top range. A couple different things I really want to focus on here. The first thing is that starting position. So just like we talked about at Daytona, we want to see how much place differential upside do these plays offer. And if they don't offer place differential upside, is that someone that I can see leading laps? Is that someone I can see finishing the top five, the top three? Is that someone I can see winning the race? Obviously, when you get to Kyle Busch, he is expensive. That might potentially keep some people off of him. Starting seventh, that potentially could keep some people off of him as well. I'm not really too worried about it. He's going to be fast. He knows what he's doing. He'll be towards the front of the field. It gives you a little bit of place differential upside. I imagine him being a lap leader and being a, contender for the race win. Now, Corey Heim's going to be really popular. I like Heim a lot. It gets you a nice $2,000 discount off of Kyle Busch. Still in good equipment, starts 19th, so he gives you a lot of place differential upside. And Heim, is priced up for a reason. He's arguably probably one of the better talents that we have currently in the truck series as well. Once you get to Christian Eckes there, I still have him as high, more of a tournament play for sure. But he's another driver that can get out front, lead you some laps, get a good finish. And I don't think he's going to be really high owned. I think a lot of people are going to go to Busch. A lot of people are going to go to Heim. I don't know if people are really going to go to Eckes there. I also like Ben Rhodes pretty much for the same reason that I like Corey Heim. I like Heim more than Rhodes. Rhodes still gives you some place differential upside. And the key is when we don't see a ton of wrecks and it's a little bit harder to navigate your way through the field, you really need those good drivers and those good equipment plays. Obviously, being priced up at the top, you're going to get that with Ben Rhodes. I'm probably going to put Eckes at medium just because he's a little bit more of a GPP play there. Same with Majeski, pretty much in the same boat as Eckes. You're playing him as to be a lap leader. I wouldn't play if you're going to play someone in the top 10, I probably would only do one, maybe two drivers in the top 10. Other than that, it's really kind of the 20s, and kind of an obvious, chalk play we'll get to here in a second. Uh, excuse me. Grant Enfinger's on a new team. The speed's there. He qualified sixth. It's just I'm a little hesitant to play this team. Enfinger's moved a lot over the years. I still kind of want to see what this truck really has. And when I look at the other drivers around him, I'm just a little bit more confident in some of the other plays. Now, Nick Sanchez got mentioned in him and his team, I should say, not necessarily Nick, but Rev Racing was in the news because KBM, I guess, is suing Rev Racing over late payments. Now they're actually kind of alliance teammates per se for this race. So really interesting. But as far as DFS goes, he starts 18th. Again, another play I really like. The Corey Himes, the Nick Sanchez's, like these types of plays that give you positive place differential upside with great finishing potential. Those are your core plays you want to build around. And then trying to sprinkle in, maybe a one driver, maybe two drivers that start inside the top 10 to hopefully be your lap leader and get a good finish. That is the construction type that we've seen work out at this track. Now, Ty Dillon, I'm going to be medium on. I like the other drivers more. Just Ty always seems to get into accidents, get into trouble. And this team alone, take Ty out of the equation. You just focus on the Rackley War Machine. Same thing. You look at their results, they usually have a lot of different issues and stuff throughout the race. So I'm just a little hesitant there. Tyler Ankrum starts second. Doesn't really give us any place differential upside, so I'm not really too high on him there. Lane Riggs, I'm going to be over the field on. I think Lane Riggs, potentially his ownership might be a little bit lower than what I would personally like it to see. He wrecked out early of the Daytona race, but he had a good car, good truck, I should say. And it's a good team, good equipment, good starting position, nice price there. So I like Lane Riggs, quite a bit. I'm not really going to get to Chase Purdy, just more so for the driver skill portion of it and starting ninth. I don't know if he can really get out front and lead laps, and there's other plays that give you more place differential upside. Same with Crafton. He's a little bit more, or he is a veteran. So he has a little bit more experience or he has a lot more experience, I should say, than most of the field. Starts eighth, more of a GPP play. It's kind of hard for him to score well. And then I really like the 7K range. I don't really think you can go wrong in the 7K range except for really Jake Garcia and Rajah Caruth. I'm not getting to either of those plays just because I like the other plays so much more. Friesen's going to be probably the most GPP of all of them just based off of where he starts. Taylor Gray and the 17 truck starting 31st is probably going to be one of the highest owned drivers on the slate. He gives you a ton of place differential upside. Because everyone's selecting Taylor Gray, I think a lot of people are going to forget about his brother, Tanner Gray. So that's even a nice, pivot option right there. And even you can play them both together. Like I like all these plays, Matt Mills, Bailey Curry, and they're all pretty easy to fit in your lines too. So some combination of the 7K range, I think has a really great chance of getting to the optimal lineup. Dropping down here to the 6K range, really 6K range and below, my interest level starts to go down, and it starts to go down because the equipment that a lot of these teams are in just aren't as good as, this equipment up here. And when we don't see as ton of carnage, as ton of wrecks, and it's still the truck series, so we're probably still going to get some. But those good teams, those good equipment is really what we see move their way to the front and get good finishes. Colby Howard, more of a tournament play, starting 15th. Somehow Daniel Dye got the pole. I don't really think he's going to hold that position, but, great run for him. I like Caden Honeycutt and Dean Thompson. You depending on your lineup construction, you're going to have to drop down here. Those would probably be my two favorite plays of the 6K range. Jack Wood starts a little bit too far forward, same with Connor Jones. Brett Holmes, I think, is a good option. I think a lot of people are probably going to be, selecting their last driver. And do I go with Brett Holmes or do I go with Timmy Hill? It's kind of a toss up. Holmes did show some good speed at Daytona. It is another drafting type of track. It's a little bit different. Timmy Hill has more experience, a little bit more of a veteran, starts a little further back, a little bit cheaper, gives you a little bit more place differential upside. Holmes is probably more of a tournament play, probably going to be relatively lower owned than Hill is, starting 27th. But I think, can't really go wrong with either of them. I'm not getting DiMaggio, Moffitt, really just based off of the equipment. And then once you get all the way down here to the bottom, Lawless, Allen, and below, these trucks were all pretty slow. And I'm concerned about them having issues, falling off the pace, not finishing the race. But if you do have to come down this low, if you're stuck, you really like your line, and you can only get one of these guys down here, just play the guy furthest back. Spencer Boyd. He does start DFL. He's slow, but if he can just finish this race, we know other trucks are going to wreck out. If he can get you a 25th place finish and your other guys do well, I don't hate that. So that's kind of the lineup construction that I have for the truck race. And when we hop over to the Xfinity race now, you're going to see a lot of the same stuff. Again, it's really attacking drivers that give us some place differential upside and then trying to get one, maybe two drivers inside the top 10 that we think have a good chance of leading a lot of laps and then still getting a good finish. So you got Austin Hill, John Hunter Nemechek, Justin Allgaier, AJ Allmendinger, and Cole Custer. Austin Hill is just winning these races left and right. He's coming off his third straight February Daytona win, which is just crazy to think about, even with the damage and stuff that he had to that car. And the RCR cars are fast again. They literally start first and second. So I think they have a great chance of staying out front, leading laps. Austin Hill has a great chance of going back to back, getting a win at this race. But he's going to carry a lot of ownership. And when you talk about tournaments, talk about the chances of wrecking out, they aren't as high as Daytona. Normally I would be low on a driver starting second here, but I think Austin Hill and what we've seen, the skill set, the equipment, the speed, like I can see him easily leading a lot of laps and getting a good finish. Now, the only potential issue is he's going to carry a lot of ownership. So, maybe you go him a little under the field in hopes that he wrecks out or has an issue or something. Just, he's going to get a little bit of an ownership bump, especially from winning last week. John Hunter Nemechek starts right next to Austin Hill and is probably going to see way less ownership. So might not be a bad pivot play, off of Austin Hill, but it's going to be hard to pass him up. I think John Hunter Nemechek's fine for tournaments. And then we start getting to some plays that I really like. So, I like Allgaier. He starts ninth. It's a good car. It's a good driver, good equipment. And he gives us some place differential upside. Austin Hill and John Hunter Nemechek don't really give us the place differential upside, but you're not playing them for place differential upside. You're playing them because you think they're going to finish well and lead laps. Allgaier can lead laps too, and he also gives us some place differential upside. So I like that. AJ Allmendinger, he's right in the mix too. Good. He might get overlooked, potentially a little bit, but he's in my play. I'm going to have a couple lines with him in it. I really like Cole Custer. He showed good speed last week. Starting 11th, he gives us the most place differential upside of that range up there. Getting to the 9K range, you got Sam Mayer and Riley Herbst. I'm just going to be low on these drivers. You got to draw the line in the sand somewhere. You can't play everybody. And for me, when I look at the talent and I look at the equipment and the drivers up here and the way that I see drivers scoring well, I just have more confidence in Austin Hill, John Hunter Nemechek, and AJ Allmendinger to get out front and potentially lead some laps. And I like the Allgaiers and the Custers because the place differential upside that they offer. So because of that, I'm really just not getting the Sam Mayer and Riley Herbst. But I really like all of these other 9K ranges a lot. I like Creed, I like Smith, and I like the other Smith because they all give us some place differential upside. They're in good cars. They're good drivers. Those are the types of plays that we really want to build around. Jesse Love starts on the pole again, back-to-back poles for him. So again, these RCR cars have speed. maybe you say, hey, I know everyone's playing Austin Hill. I'll just pivot and I'll play the guy that's in the same equipment that starts right next to him. That's a lot cheaper. That will have way less ownership. Yes, it's a lot riskier, and he doesn't give you any place differential upside, so only a tournament option. But I'm gonna have at least a lineup or two with Jesse Love in it. He's not really probably gonna project well with the negative place differential, risk that's there, but I don't mind it. Shane Van Gisbergen, SVG there. I have him as low. We saw him make a couple of different issues in the Daytona race, be involved in some different cautions, spinning out, causing some cautions too. So until he kind of figures it out a little bit, I'm going to be a little hesitant to play him. I just think it's a little risky. Ryan Truex, you get great value. I mean, it's a JGR car for $8,300, starting eighth. He's kind of right in that sweet spot of still giving us some place differential upside, maybe some lap leading upside as well, and pretty cheap. I really like Brandon Jones and Jeb Burton. I'll throw Ryan Sieg and Jeremy Clements and Parker Letsev kind of all in the same boat. So why do I like these drivers? Well, mainly because of their starting positions and the equipment that they're in. Once you get beneath Parker Retzlaff, that's when we really start seeing a jump, per se, in some of the equipment. So the Retzlaff and Burton machine, they aren't great, but they're good enough, and they're definitely better than where they start. Jeremy Clements can be in that equation too. Same with Ryan Sieg. So I really like all these high drivers down here. They give you a lot of place differential upside. And the one guy that could potentially get overlooked a little bit is Josh Williams. He's in a colleague machine. He's going to be teammates with AJ Allmendinger. They're going to try to work together. He starts 16th, so it's not really a bad starting spot for him. And I think a lot of people are going to go to other plays around him. So I think his ownership potentially might be a little lower than what it should be. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the Jordan Anderson machine. So you're going to see Jordan Anderson. He starts 38th. We have to keep in mind that he's not running a Jordan Anderson car. He's not running his own car per se. He's using a Mike Harmon car, and it had a lot of issues in qualifying. Engine issues. He starts DFL. This car did not have good speed. There's a lot of uncertainty around it. So yes, he does start DFL, but just keep in mind he's not in the same equipment this week as Jeb Burton and Parker Retzlaff. So because of that, I'm just going to be low on him because I think the field's going to be a lot higher on him. So I'm hoping I come in significantly lower on the field on Jordan Anderson, and hopefully, he has an issue and kind of miss that bullet there. But we'll see. Anthony Alfredo, and I don't know. Once you get under here, I'm really just not too interested in anyone. Like, maybe I got to increase some of my interest levels here. It's a pretty small player pool that I know I'm building around, but it's just hard. I mean, these players don't really give you a ton of place differential upside if I don't envision there being a lot of accidents. JJ Ailey, I think you can play. He starts DFL, but he was slow. I mean, he's very slow. So in this equipment, so if you're playing him, you need cars to wreck out. I like Jeffrey Earnhardt. He carries a little bit more risk, but he's in decent equipment. He's in the Sam Hunt 26 machine. That car is good enough to stay in that position or even better, move forward for us. But after that, I don't really feel confident about any of these plays down here. I don't know about you, but Kyle Weatherman, good driver, but starts 17th. And with the equipment he's in, I just have a hard time envisioning him moving forward. Haley Deegan always seems to be caught up in accidents and wrecks. If she started further in the field, maybe I'd be more interested. But starting 19th, I don't see a ton of upside. You have these drivers in the 30th, Nick and Brennan here. Give us some place differential upside. I don't mind it if you need someone down here. But if you're going to play them, I might as well just go even further and play Ryan Ellis, or go even further and play Patrick Emling or Leland Honeyman. Like, we just need these drivers to finish the race. We just need them to get us some place differential upside. So I think all these drivers are similar. I don't really feel strongly about, one of them versus another. If I had to pick, I'm going to play when I build my lines, I'm going to have the most of Ellis, Emmerling and Honeyman. That's why they're medium for me. And then maybe I'll sprinkle in some of the other ones, but I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of these back marker cars. Like, again, we don't have a ton of really data points to to lean on. But as far as lineup construction goes, it's very similar. So it's tacking plays that give us some place differential upside that ideally are in good equipment and have good finishing potential. And most of my lines, because I play tournaments, GPPs, I'm going to have at least one, maybe even two, potential lap leaders in there. Most likely just one, probably one or two drivers in the top 10. And then the rest of my lineup is just going to be place differential upside. And I'm going to do that for definitely the Xfinity race, most likely the truck race, maybe at least one driver in the top 10 for the truck race, maybe two drivers in the Xfinity series or around there. As long as I think they can finish well and give me some place differential upside, or I can see them leading laps, they'll be in my line. So I know it's a lot and also not a lot at the same time. So hopefully that's helpful. But yeah, best of luck today with the doubleheader. Once Cup qualifying's done, we'll get a sheet posted in a video recorded. But if you guys want access to both of these sheets, I'm going to post them in the morning. So the video probably be up, sometime, early in the morning Eastern time. But once I wake up, get some coffee going, everyone starts hopping on their phones trying to build some lines. I'll post these spreadsheets for you guys on Twitter. It's at FastCarsFM. So thanks again. Best of luck and good luck tomorrow.